Hey, Harry.
Hello, Seb, and welcome everybody to Harry and Seb Talks, our Willy podcast, where we talk about anything to do with entrepreneurism, the Webflow space, agency life, and such. Today, we're very lucky because we're joined by another guest. This time, it's one that I know quite personally called Emily, and I've had the pleasure of featuring on her podcast as well. So, welcome, Emily. Thanks for coming.
Hi,
Yeah,
thanks for having me. Yeah, hi everybody. I'm
thank you to
Emily
come here.
Giordano.
So,
Glad to have you here. Yeah.
for those who don't know who you are, Emily, maybe you could give just a quick and brief explanation as to who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I am a Webflow designer developer. I like making websites, like a lot of people who probably listen to this. And you can tell from my accent that I'm American. I live in US, I live in Philly. And I started out in graphic design. Always felt like something was missing. I took a web class. I thought it was super cool, but everything was hard coded. And then I found Webflow and I was like, oh, this is a missing piece. And ever since then, I've been bouncing back and forth between UX and web development. So that's where I am right now. So hi everybody.
Yes.
I also have a podcast.
welcome. And
How's the podcast called?
The Great Design Lead podcast, and it's on all the different streaming places.
very cool.
Very nice.
So Emily, I'm dying to ask you because I think everybody would be really interested to hear. And for those who don't know, Emily started off her career doing the podcast on the side, right, from what I remember, and then decided to jump into doing freelance. So perhaps you could tell us a little bit about how that journey is going so far and like where you are at the moment with all.
Yeah, so that all started with I was actually doing the podcast before it was even a podcast. I have this weird thing. I don't know if there's something wrong with me or something where if I think somebody's cool, I like just go up to them and talk to them and ask them a bunch of questions. It got me into trouble as a kid, but now it's okay. But so yeah, I was in my last couple months of college, and I felt like I was in school and all these people were telling me what the real world was like, and I didn't really think it was accurate, or I thought it was like old information that wasn't relevant anymore. And so I thought, okay, well, what is this UX thing? I'll just find people on LinkedIn and call them up. And so I just started messaging these people saying things like, oh, I think you're really interesting. Would you ever like to talk sometime? And they led to so many like multi-hour phone calls. One woman, I talked to her while she was driving to keep her company. And I talked to her from the time she left New York to the time she was like in Maine or something. Not Maine, but like
how long was that?
Different state. That was fun. Yeah, she looked at the phone and she was like, "Oh my god, we've been talking for like 2.5 hours, and I just met you."
Wow.
And I just kept on doing that. I started meeting all these different people. They started telling me about what UX was. They started telling me about what grad schools they went to and stuff.
Mm.
And so I thought, hey, like they're giving me so much info. What can I do? And I thought, oh well, if I make a podcast, other people can listen to it, and maybe that would benefit them somehow. And then I just started making a podcast with one of my good friends from college. He was my first episode, and then ever since then, it's just been my way of making friends with people. So that's always been the motive.
That's so nice. And I've got to ask, when it was Parkland High School that you went to, right?
Yep.
So was Emily, little Emily, might I add? Maybe you still are little Emily for those who know. But little Emily, did she have the same aspirations to do something like graphic design? And have you always had this kind of thirst for knowledge to know more? So that's why you kind of reach out in that sense.
Yeah, so I went to Parkland High School, which is in Allentown, Pennsylvania. It's kind of a rural. Shout out Allentown. Yeah. there's a Billy Joel song about Allentown.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, so I heard about graphic design from a podcast I was listening to. I just like listening to podcasts. I like listening to people talk. Started out listening to like the TED Talks while I was doing chores around the house, and then I found the Debbie Millman podcast, Design Matters, and Michael Beirut came on her show, and I was listening to him talk about graphic design and logos and all this kind of stuff, and I was like, oh, that's really fun. And so I was in high school and I listened to that, and then I started taking like every art class that my school offered, and I ran out of art classes, so I started doing independent classes, and I was teaching myself Adobe InDesign. I was like a unofficial assistant teacher for these Photoshop classes, just because I was in the room anyway. People were just asking me questions about Photoshop, and yeah, and pretty much I went to school for graphic design because I really didn't know anything else. I just thought this was the thing I really like, and yeah, so that was high school me, between 15 and 18.
Sounds like it was quite easy to sort of get into that role. Did you ever find like a struggle when you were younger as to what you actually wanted to do, or did you know it was always something like art related that you wanted to do?
Yeah, I think my family always kind of like pushed me towards art stuff. They always signed me up for all these art classes. My grandmother's a painter. Actually, this painting she painted.
Cute.
Shout out Heather.
It's really nice.
Shout out Heather.
But yeah, I mean, there was always this weird in between thing of like people telling you that you were gonna be like poor forever if you wanted to do anything related to anything creative. And then like a bunch of kids growing up, they would always I don't know, like put you down and stuff like that. Say, oh well, if you're not one of these 3 careers, you're not gonna be successful. So you had like a lot of fear choosing something creative, and then you grow up and you're like, oh my god, UX and web design, you can do pretty well.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. For those who don't know, I guess, could you give like a ballpark kind of like figure of like how well somebody could do in the industry if they wanted to get into a career like ours, I guess?
Yeah. I mean,
Millions.
I mean, just think about like just Google Design Joy. Like just if you Google that, you can say like, oh, okay, that's really neat. So ballpark, I guess if I was talking to somebody that doesn't know anything about it, some people I've heard they started out maybe in their first year making $30K, which is pretty good coming out of school. 30 as in like in US dollars. And then but it could go up to 200K, you could go up to 2 million a year. You could do agency, and then it just keeps on getting bigger than that. So the world is your oyster.
It really is. It really is. I know that Brett from Design Joy, he's clearing at least 250K a month or something ridiculous right now.
That
which
is
just insane. It's insane.
Not bad.
No.
Not shabby, bro.
I wouldn't complain. I would not complain.
Are you grown up? Did you grow up in Philadelphia, or where were you born? Because I also recognize your last name is Italian, or is it, or what is it?
Yeah. A very common American story of like your parents, your great grandparents come here from another country, and they have a pretty rough time, and then you do better generations later. So yeah, I grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, but my whole family's from New York. Or New York Italians. Half are New York Italians, half are New York Irish. Nice. So feisty.
Yeah. but there's some stories there. Wow.
A lot of they all were teachers, and so much of my family still lives in Long Island, New York. But yeah, growing up in Allentown, it was nice. It was really suburban, rural. I grew up going to drive-in movie theaters in pickup trucks.
Very cool.
I had to pass like a couple cornfields to get to school, but it was I describe it as like on the edge between like civilization and
Super rural.
plains of
Mm-mm.
grain.
And when did you come first time in contact with Webflow? I'm curious.
Yeah. My aunt, my mom's sister, her friend needed somebody to do a website, and so they reached out to me, and I knew nothing about all of that, but I was like, I can do graphic design. Maybe I could design it and get somebody to develop it. So I reached out to my web professor from college, and I said, hey, do you have anybody you could recommend? He recommended this WordPress guy, and the way the WordPress guy worked is he needed to pretty much see all of the designs before he would commit to how much he would charge. And so it was taking so long to get these designs approved by the client I was working with that in that time period, I learned Webflow. Just
wow. How long does this take?
I don't know, like I think within 3 months or something like that. I was doing the web, but I was doing it obsessively. So it was like all day, every day at the kitchen table, just Webflow University, me and McGuire. And yeah, so that time period was my senior year of college was when I first found it, and I found it from a Rand Segal YouTube video.
Shout out Rand.
Since then you went with it.
Yeah, since then. I almost cried because I used to be in a web design classes doing HTML and CSS and JavaScript, and I remember crying during those exams just because I was like, this is so complicated. I can't find where the missing semicolon is.
Yeah, we've all been there, I think. Yeah, definitely felt that pain.
I remember when I had C++ and I was like, oh my god, his logic is so complicated. How would ever somebody choose to be a developer?
I think that's just such a cool thing about like the no code platform and sort of space as well as space more so than platform moving forward, because like it's enabling like the people like the three of us who potentially aren't programmers and enjoy finding missing semicolons. And instead, like we can just put like blocks together and say what we want something to happen. And it's like really simple and easy. And that's what really excites me about that space. I think, I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, just the ability to design and develop at the same time and try things out. And also you're not trying to convince somebody else to try out your idea. You're willing to sit there for like 3 hours and figure it out.
Yes. And that dopamine hit at the end.
I think all
fantastic.
of us are learners. They want to learn and try things out, you know?
Yeah.
Even when you said the 3 months, you just locked yourself down and learned Webflow. It seems like you like really to learn new things and try new things out.
Yeah, I think that's good.
Of course, it's really good, and I think this is something that you need as an entrepreneur when you have your own thing, your own business. Otherwise, it's not possible. You need to be open-minded, I think, and to dive deep in new things that excite you and figure out how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the keyword's excitement there. If you're not getting up every day and loving what you do, then you're in the wrong job.
Yeah,
I think at the end of the day. And that's why we become entrepreneurs. That's why we quit our jobs, I think, at the end of the day.
I'm halfway.
Nearly there.
I'll give some context. Yeah.
I was about to ask you about that, like, because what has the process been like for you, seeing like the adventures that some other web developers and entrepreneurs, friends, and obviously people you've had on your podcast as well are telling you how much fun they're having, and you obviously know as well how much you enjoy making websites. And then also you're going to your 9 to 5. And what's the process been like of like, I guess, shifting between two roles? Because it is two very different worlds, I imagine, to go into.
Yeah. So I started out freelancing full time, and I was working on this huge project, and that wrapped up, and I was kind of looking at my finances, and I was looking at like my rent and everything, and I needed a bit of security, and so I was kind of in a spot where I was applying to jobs, wasn't working out, and I feel like a lot of people have been there, but nobody really talks about it. And so it kind of just happened. An opportunity fell out of the sky where somebody that I did a podcast with texted me and she said, "Hey, can I send your email to somebody?" Just no context. And I said, "Okay." And so she recommended me for a job as a UX designer at an insurance company, and they use Adobe products. So they use like Adobe XD, and they use Adobe Experience Manager, which is how to make websites is totally different than Webflow. And so I was like, okay. And it literally, can I swear on here?
Yeah,
Or
of
no?
course.
Okay. It saved my ass. I was, it's literally like just scooped me up and took care of me, taught me so much about grids, taught me so much about responsiveness, taught me about components, all of that. It was fantastic. And but I kind of got to a point where I was watching all of my Webflow friends build websites, and I was building components for other people to build websites. And I chatted with my boss and I was like, I gotta go do Webflow stuff. And he said, okay. And then I said, can I do part-time? And he said, okay.
Nice.
So now I'm Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in the insurance world, and then Thursdays and Fridays I'm in the Webflow world, and then maybe one day I'll be full-time in the Webflow world.
Fantastic.
So we'll see. Yeah.
Best of luck, but I think you will make it for sure.
Thanks.
I mean, you're really, really into it. And what I saw, I checked your website, looks really nice. I mean,
Thank you. That means a lot. Web designer to web designer.
I'm not web designer. I
Oh.
just have an online marketing agency, but I also like excellent design, you know, beauty and
Yeah.
excellence. So that's why I also have a fame, like I'm following all the photo and so on. And I'm really picky. Harry knows I'm really picky with design. So
It's the best way to be. It's the best way to
yeah.
be. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, for those who are like, I guess there's some people who might be in your position who watch our podcast, Emily, who are entrepreneurs who maybe are like thinking about going after their venture and are even scared. I think some people might be scared, but like they almost might be worried about the financial side and stuff, and they might be feeling like, I can't do this, I guess. I was wondering like what you would say to somebody who is also in your position, whether like it is the right choice, and how can they make sure that it works out for them as well, I guess.
So I can only speak from what I did because it's working for me. It's pretty much when you're just starting out, you don't know what you don't know. And so joining a team, even for a short period of time, maybe a year, maybe 2 years, and saving as much as you can is really good because you can learn all of this stuff, especially if the job is related to what you want to do. You have people that can recommend you, who can give you testimonials of, hey, this person was great to work with. I worked with her for a year. And then what you build is a FU fund. And so that's what I call it. You
Nice.
start building your fund so that if you have, maybe people are asking you to do projects and it's not the right project for you, you can say, hey, I saved up, like I have the power to say no to this. Or you can take time to learn different things. Maybe you want to learn more about animations. Maybe you need a month to do that. That's what the FU fund is for.
Fantastic. I gotta train about that. That sounds great.
Graphic designer Webflow fund.
And then the other thing that, especially if you're working with American clients, I have learned is lawyers are not as expensive as you might think. You might think that they're like crazy expensive, or it's not worth it because it's going to take all of the revenue that you have from this project. A lawyer to write a contract for you is so important. I don't know what it's like working with other countries, but here, so many things need to be in writing. Maybe like the client that you're working with has some assets that they don't have rights to. and then they give them to you to use on the site, and now you're looped
Uh-oh.
into this. Yeah, that's what my lawyer called it, the Disney clause.
Christ.
The Disney
Okay.
clause, I see. But I guess you
Yeah.
had then some bad experience with it in the first part, or?
I had one client that it didn't turn out well. It was the dance of like, hey, the site's ready for content, and then no, we don't want to give you the content of, oh well, is this project going to ever end?
Oh
And
God.
yeah, and so I talked through all of the issues that I had with that one experience, and my lawyer literally put everything into this contract. It's
Mhm.
as bulletproof as it can be at the moment. So yeah, my advice
So-
would be FU fund and talk to a lawyer, spend the $1,000 or $1,500 and get a contract
Mhm.
done so you can use that contract with every
Just-
client moving forward. Yeah.
Just thinking about your FU fund again. I love that name. I love that name too much, I think. Would you say like 3 months worth of expenses covered, 6 months worth of expenses covered, a year? How much should people like realistically save up?
So I'm somebody who never thinks that I'm secure enough. So mine is a year that I've been saving up for. Yeah, but I know maybe I won't need it and then I just have all of the security. But it takes a really long time to find a job if you finally realize this isn't the right thing for you. So you need to be okay. It's different if you're living with family or something like that. But if you're on your own, you gotta take care of yourself. So I would say a year. Utilities, groceries, spending, budget.
Yeah, all the bases.
It's hard. It's really
I can
hard.
imagine. I mean, it's for 1 year. It's a lot.
Yeah.
That takes some time.
That's a big spreadsheet. That's one big spreadsheet to account for everything.
Yes, indeed.
But am I right in saying that you've got a boyfriend and he's a programmer as well?
Oh, he's a civil engineer.
A civil engineer. Well, I guess it's somewhat similar, but not really. But yeah, civil engineer. So tell us a little bit about your guys' relationship, because is he like, does he live with you? Is he supporting you through this? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. Yeah, he's a civil engineer. We're different programs in school. We're the same year. But he was a 5-year program. I was a 4-year program because he had more internships. And so this past year, I've been kind of taking care of things as I've been working this big corporate lady job. And it's funny because the same month that I went part-time, he started his full-time job as an engineer. So as I take this step back a little bit to plan my next chapter, he's like, I got you.
That's so nice.
That's nice.
So nice.
Supporting each other. I think this is important.
He's my it sounds funny, but he's like my 50% off coupon on life. He's like, I gotcha. I can help out.
Does he know that? Does he know that?
Are you going to the supermarket and say, wait, I have some coupon here?
Yeah, so it's nice that my bills have cut in half now that he is in the real world now and enjoying the engineer life.
Nice. Respect to Emily's boyfriend if he's listening. Big respect.
Yeah. 50% voucher.
We would also like 50.
Mean. It's a joke.
We would also like 50%
I
vouchers, please. Thanks.
All good.
But yeah, I don't know if you saw that I posted a screenshot of our a conversation we had one time. He is really into guitars. Like that guitar back there is one of his like 4 or 5 guitars that he owns.
Wow.
And so he was texting me about a guitar that he wanted to buy, and it was a red guitar. And to me, I just thought it was a red electric guitar. And I said, this looks like the other ones that you have. And he's like, what? Because it's red, the body is different, and the neck is different, and it has different chords. That's like comparing Adobe and Webflow to be the same thing. And I said, this is how we relate to each other.
Now I understand you.
Yeah. I'm like, okay.
So he's also creative. He is into music.
Yeah.
I like that he's in on the tech jokes. I like that a lot. Actually, he's well versed. He's one of those. Keep him, Emily. He's a keeper. He's definitely a keeper. So it wouldn't be right without me saying that, like, also I know that you're doing, so for people who don't know, Emily's like pretty massive overachiever, and she motivates me a lot of the time with everything that she does, because there's the podcast that you do, there's the Great Design Lead website design company that you do, your freelance, you've got your part-time job as well. I see you popping up on YouTube sometimes on other people's podcasts as well as ours. And then there's also Podwork.io as well. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about Podwork.io?
Yeah, so that started out as somebody reached out to me saying, "Hey, can you make a membership site for me?" And I said, "Okay." He wanted to have a course and like kind of like an educational membership site. And so I reached out to Connor Finlayson, and he was like, "Okay, well, if you're going to do that, you probably should do a practice one first. So find something you're really interested in and make a practice one." And so he said, "You're really interested in your podcast. Maybe do something podcast related." And so I thought, oh, I could make a site where I have a list of potential guests and then a list of podcasts, and then they could introduce each other. It's like a directory. And so I started making it, and it was so hard, and Connor helped me through so much. He has so many great programs that help people make sites, and you can, connorfinlayson.com. Shout out to Connor.
Plugged.
He is my buddy.
Nice.
And so I made that site, and then I started reaching out to all these people and user testing it and everything. And it was a great exercise learning how to use Zapier and MemberStack and Airtable and everything. And I was like, this is so cool. Like, what can't you do? And but yeah, so many people have signed up for it. I've found people for my show. I've found other shows that exist that have signed up for it. So if you guys wanted to sign up, at the moment it's free. So it's pretty cool. But yeah,
Nice.
I've been able to introduce myself to so many people and learn how to make membership sites.
Very cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
Really cool idea. And I was checking it before. I was already thinking, oh, we need to sign up here because we need to get more guests on our show. So that's a good try. And yeah, I saw the site and looks also amazing. So
Aww.
yeah, we're going to try for sure.
I promise to approve, you guys.
Thanks so much. You have the power, crikey, the power button.
Yeah.
So what is the plan for the rest of 2022 then, Emily? If we've spoken in a year's time, where do you think you would like to have been or be?
I don't know. I can tell you that my plans for this year are that I'm going to be working at my UX job, and then we'll see if my contract gets renewed or if I go straight into full time. So that's something that's a little uncertain. So we'll see, or maybe I'll be working somewhere else that has to do with Webflow. Who knows? So there's that. I really love content. I love the content stage, doing that before any of the web designer development. I think that's really fun. And I've been reading books on it, and I took a course in it. And if anybody's interested, rightsite.co is my friend's course, and he gave me access to it to try it out, and it's fantastic.
What is the course about, Emily, for those who might want to try it out?
Yeah, so it's a course targeted at web designers on how to write content for your site. And how to kind of guide your client through the process so that they don't have to use all this brain power, and you can kind of hold their hands through it, ask them a bunch of questions, and then use their answers to create the content.
Nice.
So they don't get scared.
we all know content is the bane for any freelancer to get out from the client. It's like drawing blood from a bloody stone, I think, half the time. You have great clients that just zip for it, and then you have some clients that are stuck in it for days, as I'm sure you both can appreciate.
Can tell you stories.
It's really fun, like these questions that I developed. It was a bit from the course and a bit from testing with people and workshopping it with my friends. And I think it's really fun to ask people a whole bunch of questions, and then at the end of like the hour and 15-minute session, they're like, wow, I have a totally, like, I know more about my company now. Like, I've never really talked to anybody about these topics before. Like, I feel really good. And I thought, okay, I must be onto something then. So yeah, so content is a big thing. Where I'm gonna work, who knows? It's what happens
Freelance,
if
full
you,
time. I
yeah.
believe it. I believe it. I believe it.
And the other thing that's really big is for the month of September, I'm going to Europe. I'm going to spend a month in Belgrade, Serbia.
Oh wow.
And
Ah.
then I'm also going back to the part of Italy that my family is from, which is Palermo, Sicily.
Very nice.
Nice.
Oh, on the island. Very cool.
First
Very
time in
cool.
Yeah.
Europe?
I've been to Belgrade before.
Mhm.
Lazar is Serbian. Lazar Lezovic is a very Serbian guy.
Your boyfriend for those who
Yeah.
don't know, right? Yeah, that's.
And so I was there once for a week, and now I'm going for a month. I'll be working on New York time,
Mhm.
but it'll be fine.
Easy peasy. So is that like the opportunity to remote at your company and then also be in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool.
So that's all
Very cool.
exciting. So that's
Sounds
September, and then we'll see what happens from there. Yeah.
sounds really exciting. I'm curious because you are on lots of platforms active. You have lots of projects going on. How do you get the clients mainly? Is it they stumble about you on a podcast, or how do they get to know you, get in contact with you?
So a little bit of it is from the podcast. Like, so
Mhm.
my current client right now is he found me on, I think he was just looking for a Webflow developer, and he
Mhm.
found me and said, "Hey, like, I really love your energy." And I said, "Okay." And so we chatted for a bit, and I said, "Okay, this is what it would be to develop the site and kind of work with you through the design phase to tell you like what's feasible, what's not, and all of that kind of stuff."
Mhm.
And he said, "Sounds great." And I was like, "This is so easy." And in the past, it was my a lot of my clients were from recommendations from family members or from my web design professors in
Mhm.
college, like kind of like handing off work that they didn't have time for. So yeah, that's all the different places. But right now I'm working on this
I
plan.
mean, the best thing is recommendation. I can also speak for
Yeah.
us. I mean, when you get recommended, it's like a different vibe already. Somebody that trusts
Mm.
you and so on, vouched for you, and it's much easier to hop on a project with this client.
Yeah,
Oh
I
yeah.
agree as well. They slip through your sales process as if it's nothing, no objections. They just
Yeah,
fly
but
fly
yeah,
through.
because somebody vouched for you and they say, hey, Emily is great, she did a good job, and then
Mhm.
you don't have to pitch so much anymore because they already sold on it. I think that's the best thing that can happen.
Yeah, yeah,
How
for
has
sure.
the podcast been very transformational in terms of like your connections and just knowing people as well and stuff like that? Because I imagine that can help with referrals in the future as well.
Yeah, I've had some people come to me to do some design work when they're mostly a dev person. So I've done that. Um I've had people give me mentorship and education for free, which was crazy, which is very nice of those people. And it happened multiple times, so it's really cool.
Mhm.
And yeah, and then I've also had people say things like, "Can I recommend this client to you because I'm older and more advanced than you, and I think that you'd be capable of it. There's only one of me, so can I give this to you instead?" I'm like, "All right."
I'll take
But
it.
it's also been like really nice with life because like on my podcast, like you and I, uh, it's funny, like it's a web design podcast, but we like don't talk about web design,
No.
not like barely at all. And so it's really nice because I made all these friends, and now I like text with them on Telegram and everything. It's really nice to keep up with them. Yeah.
That's so nice. So it's opened up opportunities. So I imagine you would say if somebody was thinking of starting one, then the resounding answer would be yes.
Oh yeah, go for it. If it and also don't pay attention to who listens to it in the very beginning, because people will reach out to you and tell you that they listen to it, and people in countries that maybe you've never heard of will start listening to it. Like I don't know. Americans have a weird reputation for not always knowing
What
the world.
countries?
Is that a thing, really?
I didn't realize that the Republic of Moldova. I've never heard of it before.
This is close by here. I'm in Romania. Yeah, Moldova is like neighbor.
Close over.
Yeah. And I Googled it. I was like, oh yeah, I know that this, like, they listen to my podcast. That's so cool. But it's very cool.
Are you one to like worry over numbers or anything like that, or are you more just doing it for the love?
I don't know. I think having a huge audience is really good, but I think having an engaged audience is probably better. That's what I've been told. And so the number of people that reach out to me and that I don't know, like there was this guy from Germany that just said, "Oh yeah, I listen to your podcast at work," and I'm like, "I don't know you," and he's like, "That's okay," and I'm like, "This is so cool." He's like, "Yeah, I listen to your," and people that I actually looked up to. This I don't know if you ever heard of Honest UX Talks, their podcast. There's this girl from Romania actually, and she listened to my podcast and reached out to me, and I said, "Dude, I love you. I've listened to your podcast forever, and you listen to mine? Like, that's not how this is supposed to work."
Yeah.
And now she's coming on my podcast. We're going to do 2 hours together, which is crazy. But
That
yeah,
really cool.
That's how small the world is. I mean,
it really is.
This is amazing. I mean, you can listen from everywhere to the podcast, and then people from other countries. That's how you get like to network with them and maybe have some cool ideas, or the other one is showing you new things and so on. This is how you develop yourself.
Yeah, I can relate. It's the same with YouTube, like getting people who just, you put stuff out there thinking nobody's going to listen to it, and then all of a sudden you have these people saying, "Yeah, like I listened to you, I've watched your like, you know,
I watch every bubble.
I watch every video," and I'm like, really, bloody hell, that I can't think it's that interesting, like, you know. And it's such a cool thing, right? You get like a little dopamine hit, I think, when somebody says, "Oh yeah, I listen to your stuff," you're like, yeah.
Yeah, I find this also so cool. I mean, especially when we have the podcast and so on, and I'm in Romania, you're in the UK, you're in the US, and everybody is like in a different environment, listening to other stuff and sharing it. It helps to grow a lot and to exchange these stuff.
It makes everything seem a little bit more in reach, a little bit.
Agreed.
Yeah,
for sure.
So we're getting close to the end. Sebastian, was there anything else that you would like to ask Emily at all? Is there anything that's itching at you that you want to learn?
What hobbies do you have, or is it web design?
My boyfriend makes fun of me often. He's like, "All of your hobbies are web design related. You need to go get a hobby and stuff." So yeah, this is a very relevant topic. But I love working out, and I love cooking, and I know that's just like part of living and a necessity.
So what is your favorite dish that you like to cook?
I don't know. What
do you like to eat?
Okay, so I didn't realize that it was an option in life that you can just have like tomatoes and put salt in it, and that could be a meal. Like I didn't know that until
my fiance has this also. I don't understand it, but actually she says it tastes good.
So I started doing a slice of mozzarella, a tomato, salt, and olive oil, and it's beautiful. It's wonderful.
What I can recommend you, do you know burrata? Do you know burrata cheese? Have you heard
that's not
Yeah, from Italy. This is amazing. Like burrata cheese with salt and then tomatoes. It's really refreshing. I only can tell you, when you go to Italy, try burrata on a pizza or just with tomatoes. It's life changing.
I will have to try it. And I also heard that the wheat and all of the stuff, like the pastas and the bread and stuff like that, don't like a lot of people in the US get ill, or like they or think that they're allergic to it, and then they go to Italy and it's fine. And so I'm excited to see how that goes.
Let's try it. I mean, they have really good, and especially the ice cream. If you're an ice cream lover like me, I can tell you should try ice cream there. It's
I was
so
looking
many
around the
varieties.
area. I
Yeah.
was looking around the area and the Airbnb, and I was like, oh, there must be a gelato place nearby. And it was like everywhere.
Yes.
So there's one on my corner, so I'll probably be going there often. So I'll have
But
to let you know.
never eat a pizza with pineapple, because then a grandma in Italy will die. That's what he told me in Italy.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
If you eat a pizza with pineapple, one grandma will die.
I'll make sure to respect the culture
Yeah,
that
yeah.
my great grandmother came from.
No, it was a really nice and amazing talk. I mean, Harry, do you want to add something? Or Emily, do you have any questions?
Yeah. What do you guys think about? Oh, you go.
Go on, Emily. Go on, Emily.
What do you guys think about like the next year? It's really interesting to have little time capsules of how you think time will unfold.
I think that's a great way to end off. Why don't you go ahead, Sebastian? I think it's a lovely idea.
Maybe I'm a bit too negative, because was it the last time or the podcast before we had recession?
Yes, we
Recession.
did.
So I honestly, I don't know. I think if you really like what you are doing with your business and you're really good at it, I think it gives you great opportunities to grow. So that's the plan for my agency, to grow next year further, to get more clients, to increase the team size and so on. On the other side, because we had this topic, I think it's also important to reflect on your business, to see if your position is good, and to see what you maybe might change, because there are so many things that coming right now. I mean, I don't know if you get so much to know from the Ukraine war and so on, because it's really close by to Romania. It's just Black Sea, and then there's Ukraine already. Then with the increase of the prices, I think that in the US it's the same. So there are lots of things, unknown things, where you don't know in which direction it goes. That's why I'm saying it's really important what you are passionate about and what you like to do, because this brings you further for sure. Because people can see this. I mean, that you are passionate about web design and so on. So yeah, this is how I see next year.
Very nice. So stick to your passions, close your eyes and hold on, is a good summary.
kind of like this, and have the FU fund.
Yeah, and have the FU fund. Nice.
That's the idea.
Well, I'm going down a little bit of a different route, because next week I fly to Buenos Aires in Argentina, South America, and going to be starting my first digital nomad kind of quest, I guess. So that'll be a really fun experience. Still running a fully remote agency all around the world, but a little bit closer to your time, and then also only 3 hours behind the UK as well. So it's like a easy middle ground. And then maybe travel around South America. I'd love to be talking to you guys by next year and say, done a fair few bits of South America, come to the States for a bit, see some family, and travel around. So I guess I'm escaping the recession by just getting to where it's really cheap. It is probably my
going from economy crisis to economy crisis.
Yes, exactly that. And I'm sure we could get into the depths of it as well. But yeah, that's it. Thanks so much for joining us, Emily, today. For everybody who would like to find Emily online, you can just type in The Great Design Lead on Google and I'm sure she'll pop up. But she has a YouTube channel where she does some website reactions, as well as a few clips of the podcast. If you want to see more about the podcast and see her stories and stuff, you can find her on Instagram. Can they find you on LinkedIn, Emily?
Yeah, you can just look up my name on LinkedIn, Emily Giordano.
Thanks. If you'd like to find out more about Sebastian, you can search up RA7 Consulting. It's on on his walk. And you can also find Sebastian Dobbyer on LinkedIn. If you'd like to have a look for any of my stuff, it's Imaginary Space all over the place. And then my YouTube channel is Harry Roper, and Instagram is Harry Roper as well. Thanks so much for listening to Harry and Seb Talks. It's been a lovely episode of you, Emily. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Great
Thanks for
talk.
having me.